We're here live. Walnut Kills, California. The studio. LuchaWorld. Stop laughing, Fredo.
Podcast episode 36.
That's right, 36.
I know you forgot.
I did forget. It's been 2 weeks since we've done a podcast.
What an intro.
My memory, yeah, I know. I'm trying to work on, taking the edge off my charisma. I'm drawing too many people toward me. I'm like a magnet.
Okay, this week's show.
I'm a dick magnet.
This week's
Anybody
show.
who is a dick gets near me. Anybody who's crazy gets near me.
We've seen weirder people get close to you at wrestling shows.
This is true.
This week's show, Lucha Underground, Rush's injury, the latest on Rush, FantasticaMania, the lineup came out.
A lot of news.
A lot of guys, a lot of news. So,
Mistico II.
Are you doing is this the intro, or are we still is this the start of it sounds like it's the start of the show.
This is the start of the show, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
so then when the
beginning of the show, we have so much that we...
The only podcast where we do the intro after doing the podcast.
Exactly, yes, yes. So, fast forward, then rewind, then... Wait, this isn't tape anymore. This is MP3. MP3.
Yeah, a lot of news.
A lot of news. One thing I want...
We should start with the big news.
Okay, before the big news, the one thing I do want to say really quickly, because I know I always say this toward the end of the show. Just want to say I'm tickled and thankful that I'm actually getting emails.
Really?
Yes. So instead of...
I'm not, which is fine. Actually, I think I get tweets a lot. I get tweets and stuff like that, so I think people know. I'm on there more for if people ask questions, they could just go on Twitter and ask me. Yes. It's easier for me too.
I'm Jazz. So at the beginning of the podcast, instead of the end, I'm going to say the email is Liger, Lyger @AOL.com. I want to say a thanks to William Hasselwender and to Anthony Bowden, who has sent some very nice emails, and about 5 other people who names are skipping me.
So we have more than 5 listeners now?
Yeah, we have at least 7 already.
You hear that, Steve, Dr. Lucha Sims? We have more than 5 listeners. Was he the one that was telling us, or was it somebody else? Somebody else told us we...
Was it?
Oh, Kevin Kleinrock also thought we...
Kleinrock, that's right. That's right. Kevin Kleinrock, who, by the way, is a good sport and a wonderful guy.
Yes, you and Kevin Kleinrock got into a huge argument on Facebook.
That's right. I called him out. I said
he called you out.
Yeah, I know. I called him. I said, "Hey, I'll meet you at the corner of Harmony and Understanding, and we'll have it out right now."
The funniest thing is I don't even remember. I don't think any of us remember the announcer we were talking about.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember who it was. I just remember how bad he was. But no, Kleinrock was really cool.
It's hard to find a good announcer.
He pretty much came out and just explained it. And, so
it was a fun little discussion to be thrown in.
It was.
Yeah.
Kleinrock's a good dude. I stand by my critique of that announcer. Yeah, I gotta say.
When you do something that other people are gonna see. Yeah. Not everybody's going to like what you're doing. Even writing.
Oh, totally.
Anything you do, people are I'm sure people hate this podcast, which is fine.
And that's why they listen to it.
That's why they listen to it. They want to complain.
Some people love to punish themselves.
Yes.
Dr. Jerry Graham did not give me, offer a lot of things as far as wisdom that I actually drink in every day. But what I'll never forget him telling me that I think of all the time is he says, the easiest thing in the world to do is criticize. And we were sitting around bitching and moaning about this and the other thing, and he just kind of said, hey, you know what we're doing here? We're doing the easiest thing in the world, criticize. And then he says, try building something. And that takes work.
Think about this. TNA has been around for 12 years, 12, 13 years, and people hate it. And they still that's all they write about. I think it was funny because I was on Twitter the other day, and somebody was asking about Lucha Underground, which is the first thing we'll talk about, and how nobody's written a negative review about it. Everybody likes it. Mm-hmm. And they've been looking for somebody who actually hates it. And I was thinking, well, a lot of the people who review, if you don't like it, it gives you less reason to write about it. You know what I mean? Because even some people who write about TNA, there's a little bit that they like about it.
Yes.
Whereas if you hate TNA, you're not going to write about it.
Exactly, and I've disliked TNA enough where I just am not going to watch it. Where maybe I should give it a chance again sometime, but
You got other things to do.
Yeah. But if I was to write it, I'd criticize it as I saw fit, and I'd salute it as I saw fit.
We had about 3-4 years of podcasts where we couldn't watch TNA because it was on at the time we were doing the podcast.
That's right.
That was our excuse.
That's when we did podcasts at a set time.
Yes.
We're actually on a roll here. We're doing this podcast just a bit 2 weeks after.
I know. I think we've been doing we've done the last 3 within the last.
It's like our podcast exists.
Yeah, like we're doing it more often.
Yes.
Like
I know I cut you off at the pass just because I wanted to get the barking of the email in there.
Yeah. So the big news. The big news this week is the announcement of the CMLL bodybuilding competition.
Oh, I love
something that we always like to talk about because we both work out.
Yes. Yeah, we both.
One of us has been to the gym. One of us has been outside and thought of seeing.
That's right. No, you're in the gym. You're telling me how I'm working out wrong. You tell me how I don't bench press enough.
Again, I'm good at criticizing. I don't work out, but I criticize.
And you say, because you tell me, I could bench way more than you if I wanted to.
Yeah. I love how this year's bodybuilding competition. They had the guys who I guess run it for the CMLL. They had them on their weekly news show, and they were talking about how this year the minis are no longer going to be separate in their own division.
That's kind of cool.
They're going to put them back in. They're going to put them in with the regular size guys. And I thought, wow, this is kind of interesting. But then I don't really care about that stuff enough to really be that into.
The only thing, and since I always reveal my seamy, sleazy side whenever I'm at a wrestling event or in front of a microphone talking about wrestling. I'd never followed who won those things, but I remember when, Galavision, when CMLL was riding high in the late 80s, early 90s, I loved when they got to the women's portion.
Oh, the bodybuilding?
Oh, my God.
Really? I don't like that.
I loved it because
I don't like it when they're bronzed and everything.
No, here's the thing I loved is these were lady wrestlers who were working out. They weren't steroided bodybuilding women. It was like Lola Gonzalez, La Sirenita.
Oh, this is old. This is
yeah, that's what I mean. I'm talking way back when. I don't know what it's like now. I have no idea.
I'm thinking like Dark Angel the last 5 years when
no.
And all those girls I'm
an old man. And again, I'm waving my cane.
Yeah, because those girls weren't. I mean, they weren't built or anything. They were just built normally. They were
solid.
They were just normal.
Flex and stuff, but it wasn't like
they were more like Amapola and Marcelo then.
Yes.
Than like Dallas and Dark Angel.
I had such a crush on Sirenita.
Really?
Those strong legs and she had the cutest face too. Just
cute as a button. Kurt going in creep mode within the first 10 minutes of this podcast.
Well, it's not really creepy when you think of a woman putting a scissor hold on me and putting it so strong that it crushes my jaw. And as I scream for mercy, she just hurts me more.
But I just think it's funny how CML always plans this thing, and there's always more, they concentrate more on that than anything else. I didn't even know you could go to that thing for free. I
never knew that.
I don't think they even promote it. I rarely see, when you see,
I thought it was just something they always
and a couple of people would show up to, take pictures and stuff like that, but I didn't really think it was people can actually attend this thing. And again, wrestling fans I don't think would really attend it, just because I think wrestling fans tend to be more into the wrestling.
Yes.
They're not whenever wrestling promoters want to force feed their other interests to wrestling fans, the wrestling fans rarely are into it, like XFL and all that. Well, the other thing we were going to talk about is Lucha Underground. It's been going on for 4 weeks. What have you thought of the show lately? You hate it, right? And so do I.
I so hate it. Let's move on to something else. There's nothing newsworthy. No, I gotta say, I know I said something in this vein last time, but it trips me out when I'm at work. I work in a really big office. It's not just a few dozen people. It's hundreds of people. I'm amazed by everybody, who knows me knows I'm into wrestling, and everybody says, "Hey, have you heard of this Lucha Underground thing?" It's the irony that is being mentioned in so many newsletters is so many people are hearing about it, but only a few of them
watch it.
Can watch it.
Yeah,
they don't have the
because they don't have and then they don't know that Unimass airs it.
Oh yeah, I know a woman there who was a huge Conan fan, and she says, "Yeah, I'm so bummed. I don't get Unimas and I don't get El Rey." And
she doesn't get Unimas either.
No,
wow,
no. I think she She has one of the satellite ones. I can't remember if it's Direct or...
DirecTV has it, but I think it might be a different tier. It might be... Dish has it, too.
But
Dish has Unimax, but you have to have the Latino package.
I've watched every show, and... I gotta be honest, this is not just good wrestling TV, this is good TV. Yeah. I especially enjoyed the third episode. I think my favorite moment of the third episode is when Chavo Jr. is walking down the corridor and bumps into Conan, and they look like, hey, it's been a long time, good to see you, and Conan flat out says people in Mexico know what you did to Sexy Star and what you did to Master Rita Sagrada.
And Blue Demon Jr. How are you ignoring Blue Demon Jr.?
How am I?
You just skipped Blue Demon Jr. Like what you did. No, it was Blue. You said Blue Demon Jr. first.
To the ghost of Dr. Jerry Graham, I'm about to do the easiest thing in the world when we talk about Blue Demon Jr. in a bit. But I loved how Conan just walked off without... And then how Chavo turns around and is face-to-face with Mil Muertes.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
And then Katrina licks his face, which is not as cool. Kind of disgusting. Well, I mean, not disgusting
probably
for her,
the wrestler.
But yeah, you know,
I bet the wrestlers would love that.
Like who wants to lick Chavo Guerrero Jr.'s face, really?
Well, he is kind of. I've heard
what I dug about that part was Conan. Well, because you watched the Spanish version of that.
No, that's the thing is you
saw the English version.
Yeah, and
well, you probably saw both then, didn't you? Or you're not? You're just watching the English.
The first 2 episodes, I watched the Spanish versions and the English versions. I only had time to catch the English ones,
okay.
and I want to say, the longer I see Matt Stryker and Vampiro, the less enthralled I am.
Yes, I told you.
Yeah, you're right.
I told you.
I gotta say, I liked the first episode, and the reason I watched the English one is so I can know everything.
Yeah, because there's so many different things that are going on.
Exactly, and that said, I miss Hugo Savinovich.
Yeah.
I understand part of what he says, but he is so enthusiastic. He could be saying, Vandal Drummond, I have dug up all of your ancestors and had sex with their skull. And I'd still be going, yeah, Hugo, you go, you go, you
and
go.
You know the funny thing, like somebody, I was listening to MLW radio, and Court Bauer was saying how he thought they should put Hugo in the English version also.
What about they don't?
Well, the problem there is that unless you put him with Matt Stryker, I think that would be okay. But him and Vampiro, like if they do it in English, he can't control Vampiro.
Yeah,
that happened in Triple Mania. He just can't control him. Vampiro comes up with like the weirdest shit to talk about. Whereas with Matt Stryker, I think Matt Stryker kind of like just changes directions or like doesn't get sidetracked with Vampiro. I'm guessing Vampiro must know Hugo from like where they like talk about weird shit. Probably. They must talk some weird shit. Like.
But yeah, and also, and I think I brought this up with you. I my Spanish is not good at all. Yet when I'm listening to Hugo, I can pick up a lot of what he's saying. I like that. I like that he kind of keeps the talk exciting and simple for people like me.
What I dug at that skit where they did with Chavo and Conan was Conan tells Chavo that he has to go make like a ghost and disappear.
Yes,
and then he says, or you have to be what was it? You have to be like a comprehensive immigration bill.
Yes.
And I was just cracking up.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Or complicated or some shit. And I was like, dude, where do you come up with this stuff? Like, I just
Conan is a huge politics
man. They took it off the Spanish version. I'm guessing you couldn't. I kept thinking how he couldn't translate immigration bill.
I love that he put it on there for the English version. I mean, that was awesome.
I thought the 4th episode wasn't as good as the previous 3.
No,
the match quality. I mean, Big Rick sucks. Like in the ring, the guy is horrible.
You know what would be better if they? I mean,
because we went to the show that's going to be on next week. Mm-hmm. We actually went to that show, and if you remember, the main event was Big Rick versus Prince Puma. But the difference was that Big Rick was basically not in the he would get in for bumps. Or like to beat down, but then everybody else, Lil Cholo and Ricky Reyes were going in all the time.
Exactly,
Cisco and Cortez Castro.
I thought it would be almost funnier if they had him do a Big Bubba thing instead of having an actual long match with people. If he got in smoking his cigar.
Yeah, did a choke slam and then laughed or whatever.
Yeah, he's still smoking his cigar as he's wrestling. You know?
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, having him do long matches, like oh god.
Yeah,
and also the Sexy Star Ivelisse match, I thought wasn't very good.
When I saw that, what I was thinking was. One, A for effort. It looked like they were really trying.
Yeah.
But the problem is, It looked like Ivelisse was leading the match, but she doesn't look like she's good enough to lead a match.
And then Sexy Star doesn't fit the role of being like the female wrestler that's there to fight the evils and everything.
Exactly.
Because I kept saying, like I've said, I think I might have said in the last podcast, I always thought Fabi Apache would have been a better person.
Oh, she would have been great. Well, see, here's the thing. Whenever I see Sexy Star in there with a man knows how to carry her.
Yeah.
They need a woman to know how to carry her, like you said, one of the Apache sisters.
Yeah, somebody. And then the other thing is, like, I kept thinking somebody was saying how they thought Sexy Star wasn't that bad, was awful. And I said, well, if Taya Valkyrie ever makes it to this show, she's going to be a lot worse than Sexy Star. Because she bumps, I don't know who, like, I think we've talked about it, she bumps horribly for somebody who was trained by Lance Storm, supposedly.
You wonder how it goes from there.
Yeah, so, but I mean, the matches that are good, like Phoenix versus Pentagon.
That was
fun.
Sweet. Another thing I like when you talk about Phoenix versus Pentagon, I love there's a randomness in who's going to go over. It's not as predictable. Like, you'll see somebody introduced in the ring.
And then he'll lose.
well, first, they're in the ring. They don't make an entrance. They're already in the ring when they announce them. Then somebody makes a grand entrance. But that doesn't necessarily mean that person who's making the grand entrance will go over. It's kind of like... who's the guy who wrestled Drago in the last episode?
King Cuerno.
King Cuerno, yeah.
Hijo de Fantasma.
I mean, you thought...
he was going to win.
Yeah, they did a whole video package on him, and I'm coming for my prey. I'm the predator.
Yeah. Yeah, he is going for his prey.
I remembered it correctly.
Yeah, you did get it right.
I love when I remember things correctly. But still, it wasn't he who went over.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool that you don't really see what's coming.
I dug the finish of that match. That was, like, it was all right, though, but the finish.
It wasn't bad.
The show we went to, I mean, I don't know how I'm guessing they're going to add those dark matches to the show, because
I hope they do.
Those were short.
Those are short.
Sexy Star versus Chavo was short. It was more of an angle. And then the other match, Mesias, Mil Muertes versus Drago, was short, too.
I wonder, well, here's a thought. We'll know better when we actually see the
or they're adding
finished product. I wonder if they're just kind of learning as they go along, like... Yeah, because the Sexy Star Ivelisse match, that should have been about 3 minutes shorter.
Yes. It's funny because that was the match that got the most time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was easily the one match you could have cut to like 5 minutes.
It would have been smarter.
4 minutes, and it would have been fine. It would have been a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. They would have been more efficient. They wouldn't have tried too many things.
Yeah.
And,
exactly. See, you should be booking the shows now.
I should.
You should go there and tell Conan.
Lord, I'm smart.
Next TV tapings, next set of tapings, we'll go and we'll take notes and tell Conan.
We'll have our yellow
Yes, we'll tell Conan. Here, Conan, here's what we think you should change.
Now do it right.
Do it right, Conan.
I hope this doesn't piss Conan off, but I gotta be honest and say the stuff he's doing on the show is some of the best stuff he's done.
I don't think he has a problem with that. He's fine with it.
That character is just awesome, and his delivery is fucking great.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually like him in that role better than as a wrestler,
Well, as a wrestler, he was limited, though.
Yeah.
Especially when he was in the U.S. and wrestling, in WCW.
WCW.
Because how many times can you see the Tequila Sunrise?
Yeah, exactly. And also, you're prisoner to the powers that.
Yeah, so it's like, how many times do you have to see?
What are you going to accomplish when everything?
How many times can you hear somebody say, "Órale arriba la raza"?
Yeah.
Bowdy, rowdy. The other thing about Pentagon Jr., I mean, how disappointed are you that the other Pentagons don't like him? I mean, I was very disappointed, but I was thinking about this.
He must be very hurt.
I was thinking about this, and if you think about Pentagon Jr., I mean, he hasn't really lived through a lot. I mean, Pentagon, the original, nearly died in the ring. You kind of have to come back from death in order for the other Pentagons to like you. Yes. Don't you think? I mean, these guys have gone through a lot. I mean, he's got a little bit more life to live too.
Got a little bit more
life to live and one death.
That's right.
1 year death experience to really be it.
Hey, there was 1,000 deaths for some of the wrestlers, isn't there? Or at least one of them.
It's coming pretty soon for a few of them.
Yeah.
God, that was horrible. That was so mean for...
Now,
don't you just hate when we're talking about like deaths, like Mil Muertes and all that stuff? Like, we're talking about deaths, but then it's wrestling. And you're like,
I know.
Eventually going to...
It's hard to joke about.
Yes, because eventually something might happen.
And it's like if somebody came up to me and said, "Did you hear? One half of the WWE locker room just fell over dead." And I go, "Oh, that's a funny joke. It is a joke, isn't it?"
The entire world-class roster is pretty much done.
That's creepy.
Yeah. We should talk about Alberto Del Rio.
Yes.
He's officially free from WWE.
Very cool. So he can
sign with other. I guess there was a rumor that he mentioned he was going to sign with 2 promotions in the U.S., which I'm guessing Lucha Underground is obviously one of them.
Yes.
But then, like, some people were rumoring it's the other one is TNA, which I kind of...
Interesting.
I'm not sure if that's going to work out. I mean, I'm guessing... Well, but then what else is there? Like, that's basically it. Like, TNA or WWE. Ring of Honor. He doesn't fit. He doesn't fit their...
Yeah, I'd love to see him in Ring of Honor, but I don't think...
You don't even watch Ring of Honor.
I don't know, but I would if he was on it.
You wouldn't watch it. Do you even have it on TV?
No, I don't, but I'd find it. I would find it. Look, when Alberto Del Rio was...
You wouldn't even watch TNA if Del Rio was on it.
No, for Del Rio. Del Rio was the only reason I turned on WWE for several years.
I didn't.
I did.
I don't like Del Rio that much.
I love Del Rio.
I'm not that big a fan.
I thought he was awesome.
He's all right.
And I thought... They never messed up a babyface push as badly as they did when they tried to push him as a face and just kept on.
Yeah, and then it got worse. I liked him when he first showed up. I'll say that I did. And, as much as I'll say, like, I don't like watching Del Rio, a lot of people really enjoy, like, that's, like, he's one of the few people who moves around, like, people actually want to watch him.
I really like him.
So, like, it helps, like, even, like, our side, LuchaWorld, it helps that he's around. Because it means... people are going to actually visit the site, whereas like if he's not around, nobody's actually going to visit him and Mistico.
Okay, so how about now that he's on the AAA scene, what do you envision? Do you think it's going to be do you think he's going to have a real fresh...
Well, he's doing really well there, so...
Cool, because I haven't seen anything he's done there yet.
You haven't?
No, I haven't.
I thought that was your homework.
The only thing I've Underground.
I thought that was your homework.
My homework is still the Bobby Zavala match.
Oh, that's right. You still haven't watched it. You're going to be late. You're going to finish your homework by the end of the semester.
That's right.
The thing is, like, it's going to be interesting because if he's still in AAA, then he's Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground takes about what was it, like 12 weeks? 12 weeks of tapings.
Yes.
So you're basically going to AAA the other time. You're splitting that. Then you're going to split it, maybe Japan, and then another promotion in the U.S. That kind of seems like a lot of...
Doesn't seem realistic.
It doesn't seem like... It seems like a lot of work, and I'm guessing it's at the end...
a tight schedule.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to, like, fulfill all that, especially because AAA, like, all their shows are, like, on the weekends. And they run in a bunch of little, like, cluster of shows all at once.
Now, is he as over with the fans?
Yeah, he's the most over guy in AAA right now. He's the one. Well, I mean, Mystices is basically invisible now. Like he's kind of like people have forgotten him, which is it happens. Like it happens with anybody. The new flavor of the month is going to be the hot name,
right? And just the way he exited WWE.
Yeah, and it became like a
It's like he got wronged.
Yeah. So he's main eventing Guerra de Titanes on December 7th versus Tejano, Hijo del Tejano. For the AAA Mega Heavyweight title.
Very cool.
That should be a good match. That should be a good match. That's the other thing with Alberto. He fits better with the heavyweights and the stars in AAA. Because you got Tejano, you got Perro, Junior, Messias. You got more of a group of guys.
Yeah, and also WWE.
In WWE, what was he gonna do? Be the fifth partner in John Cena's team or something.
Yes. I mean, the one good thing about WWE is he became the character he is rather than Dos Cars Jr.
You know what's amazing is how bad WWE has as a main event crew. I don't think there's a promotion that has like a more unbalanced. Like, there's really nobody that interests me.
I only see it on paper. I don't watch it, but it does look like, who are these guys? I mean, I know they're trying to make new talent,
because your main event crew is basically John Cena and Randy Orton, Seth Rollins.
Can you imagine if they left? I know.
Who thought CM Punk when he left? I mean,
very true.
But I mean, like with AAA, you have all these fresh matchups like Del Rio versus Tejano, Del Rio versus Perro, Mystices versus Perro, Messias versus somebody. You have their entire card. I mean, Guerra de Titanes. Their openers, Dinastia versus Mini Charlie Manson. What they did was they had Mini Charlie Manson on one of the most recent tapings. He showed up as a fan to celebrate with Dinastia, like, oh, I'm your number one fan. And as soon as they were celebrating, he attacked them, took off the mask, and it was revealed to be Mini Charlie Manson, who looks like I don't really like him. And then the second match is Fabi Apache and a surprise luchador, which I think might be Ivelisse, versus Sexy Star and Taya Valkyrie, which doesn't sound very...
Apache is going to be working her butt off.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
Then you have the triangle of the tag team titles in a three-way. Angelico and Jack Evans defending versus Phoenix and Mystices.
Sweet.
Versus Joe Leader and Pentagon Jr. Which kind of like... Pentagon Jr. joined the Perros del Mal. Him and Joe Leader are new members of Perros del Mal. Because that group basically is just Perro Jr. basically right now. So, but Joe Leader's awful. But I mean, there's enough guys where you could do something with him. And then the fourth match is... But see, like, even the third match... That's the third match, and you're already interested. You already have like a main event level guy in Mystices working with guys who are under, mid card guys who could get a little bit more of a, interest from the fans. Like, hey, look, these guys. And I think that's the one thing AAA does better than other promotions. They're actually balancing out their lineups. It's not like all, you don't have like Cholo and Akuma versus Bengala and Leono,
right?
Like CMLL does every single time. And then their fourth match is Psycho Circus defending the AAA Trios title versus the Hell Brothers, who are now Averno, Chessman, and Cibernetico.
Coolness.
A really cool trio. But see, that at least there's another trio. 3 guys who were main eventers. Murder the Psycho Circus. Psycho Clown is a main event guy. The fifth match is, look at this. The fifth match is Mask versus Mask, Aerostar versus Superfly. Those are mid-card guys.
Yes.
As your semi-main event. That's cool.
Yes.
That's cool. So they get a little bit of a...
Well, that's been some of the frustration, too. There's a lot of guys that should be pushed.
And so what they're doing, I'm not sure if that's going to be the exact lineup, how they do it. And then the main event's Del Rio versus Tejano Jr. But, I mean, that's still, like, that's very balanced. I mean, they might change it up where they mix it up.
Right. It does sound like a fun show.
It does sound like a fun show. That actually... I'm surprised they haven't announced that it's going to be on iPay-per-view, although I wouldn't... I've had my bad experiences with iPay-per-views. I'm skipping it this time.
I think they should think long and hard about how iPay-per-views are going to go out.
They got to figure out some other way of doing it.
And on that note, we will be right back after this very important word from somebody who is not one of our sponsors.
How long has it been since you've held a pretty young girl in your arms? The naughty stewardesses would like to take care of your problem. Fly first class with the naughty stewardesses, the cutest, curviest, most caressable hostesses who will ever take care of you. If you're past 40, Debbie's for you. She likes older, more experienced men. If you're young with hot plans, check Jane. If a groovy soul sister's your dish, beautiful Barbara more than fills the bill. And for those way out scenes, don't miss Margie. Everything turns her on. The naughty stewardesses are what you think they are, and more. Each one is a piece of class. Come and meet the naughty stewardesses. You'll love their takeoff. All new, in color, rated R for adults.
And we have returned from AAA into CMLL.
Lots of news in CMLL this like last 2 weeks. A lot. Tell us about it, Kurt.
I know nothing about it. Is Kurt, it another? Kurt. Are they having 5 tournaments?
Well, Kurt, you got part of it right. There will be a tournament on December 26th.
Oh dear.
But let's start with the big news, which is very depressing. Oh, no. Rush suffered a leg injury in one of those All Elite shows. Initially, they thought it might have been it was worse. At that time, they thought it might have been a sprained ankle, but it ended up being a fractured fibula. He had surgery this past Thursday. He's going to be out 10 to 12 weeks. 3 months.
That's close
without him.
Thing to a tragedy.
Yes,
in CMLL.
It's horrible. Like,
that's very bad news.
Because the ingobernables have been like the most entertaining thing on their shows at times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Match quality hasn't been that great at times. They
should pull a Brian Pillman where he's out there in a wheelchair.
Yes, and just cheering the fans and cheering his team on or something.
Great doing that.
He would be great as that, and he would probably do it because I mean, that's the one thing I like about Rush. Like, he does all these shows when he does the talk show and everything. He plays the character. I think he's the only one that still does it. Like him and Sombra. Sombra does the total asshole thing. They had him on Informal the week before he broke his leg. and they were like talking about they give out tickets during the show at the very start. So then they asked the Ingobernables if they could do this at the end just to repeat themselves. So then Rush gets very annoyed, and he's like, how about I give you the fans, I'll give them 7 tickets if they stop asking these stupid questions. Not only you guys, but this announcer guy. Oh, and he couldn't remember the one other guy, the Miguel Reducindo. He couldn't remember his name, which is the...
So he said announcer guy?
No, yeah, he's like that other guy over there.
Do you know that was Ernie Ladd's gimmick?
Yeah, the guy who hosts the show is Julio Cesar Rivera, who I'm sure you've seen. The other guy is part of the press department, Miguel Reducindo, who we call CMLL Miguel, because he was on a show years ago with AAA Miguel, Miguel Fonseca, who's one of the bookers in AAA. And they had we differentiate them as AAA Miguel and CMLL Miguel. So then when he was talking about, he's like, who's that? Whoever that guy is, how about you just tell him not to ask these stupid questions?
Ever since I can remember, Ernie Ladd, whenever he was being interviewed, when he'd cut a promo, he says, let me tell you one thing, Mr. TV Announcer. It didn't matter where he was. Everybody was Mr. TV Announcer. So
then they keep going, and La Sombra chimes in, and he's like, I will give out double passes if you guys stop asking these stupid questions. And I was just laughing, and I thought, why don't they just have Rush on the show every week just to or have him be the commentator? Because I think it would be hilarious, because he hates everybody. He does the whole they'll ask him why they were asking him why not add Diamante Azul to the team, and they just kind of shit on Diamante Azul because he sucks. That's why. But they like Marco Corleone, so Marco Corleone is filling in for Rush. But the thing that happened is, since Rush got hurt, La Sombra is touring Japan right now.
Right.
So there's no need for the Ingobernables. So La Máscara is on his own. So there's no...
And probably feeling lonely.
Yeah, so there's no Ingobernables for at least 3 months, which kind of really sucks.
That does suck.
Right after that, they announced there was a cage match with everyone's hair on the line in early December. And Rush was going to be in that because Rush has been feuding with Ultimo Guerrero.
Yes.
So now instead, Marco Corleone takes his spot. So they have the 10 guys: Blue Panther, Felino, Shocker, Terrible, Rey Bucanero, Ultimo Guerrero, because the promotion's built around him, Maximo, Cavernario, Volador, and Marco Corleone. So they have Ultimo Guerrero on CMLL Informa. He does it every other week, basically now, which is really annoying, because it's, how many times can you hear, oh, Ultimo Guerrero, you're the best. You're of otro nivel. So he's on the show, Cavernario's on the show, and Volador Jr.'s on the show. Volador Jr. sounds like he's trying to start his own angle.
No
he's
way.
So desperate, because Ultimo Guerrero's talking about Rush, how he's disappointed, he's hurt. He's like, so then Volador Jr. said, why are you worried about Rush when I'm here and I've been around for a lot longer and all this stuff? And so so I'm like, dude, what's going on? All of a sudden, this guy's starting his own feud. So they have Blue Panther feuding with Cavernario, and then they have Maximo feuding with I think it's Cavernario also. Then Felino's feuding with Rey Bucanero. So it's all these different groups feuding. Ultimo Guerrero didn't even know Rey Bucanero was in the cage match until they reminded him on the show, and he's like, "Oh, really? I didn't know that." So that's the other match. That same show, Mistico II came out. It was a press conference. Then they held the show. Mistico II came out and announced, I think, what was it? Early or late August, he had announced that he might come back for the anniversary show.
Right.
He didn't.
Which is wise.
Yeah, so then...
Yeah, I mean, that was a nasty break.
Well, he was in a motorcycle accident? So, and then how many times did they show, them inserting the rod into his leg? I mean, how many times again? I'm pretty sure that's pretty bad if they're inserting a rod.
Exactly. I think they were trying to stimulate our appetites. Yeah. Gonna have dinner? Well, watch this first.
So he comes out and he announces that he's vacating the CMLL welterweight title. So they announced they're going to hold a tournament. This being CMLL, if you don't follow CMLL very well, you would think, wow, why didn't they do this? If he got hurt in May or June, why didn't they do this in July or August, since that would have been 30-day clause or whatever, 60-day clause? And then you have to remind that person this is CMLL. They don't really follow anything. There's no logic to what they do. So they end up announcing that they're going to hold a tournament on December 26th. And Mistico decides to announce that he wants to be the first challenger to the new champion. Mm-hmm. So they announced the 10 guys who are actually some of them are pretty good on Fuego, Rey Cometa,
right,
Máscara Dorada, Negro Casas, and a couple of guys you really don't think have a shot. Titans in it. A couple of other guys. There's about 5 guys that have no shot of winning it. But filler, which of course you think filler that one of those guys ends up winning it, mm-hmm. which probably will end up being Pulvera that wins it.
Right.
So then, right after that, I think yesterday, or actually earlier today. No, actually it was yesterday. New Japan announces the 17 guys that are going for their January FantasticaMania show. Mistico II is on that list. Mm-hmm. So that basically means that Mistico II will be back like sometime between December 26th when that tournament's going on to the early January, which mid-January or whatever.
Carvernario too, yeah?
Carvernario's going. I can tell you the list right now. They had announced Ultimo Guerrero and Carvernario earlier.
Okay.
Atlantis is going. La Sombra. Volador Jr., Mistico II, like I mentioned, Gran Guerrero,
okay,
Mr. Niebla, who is currently suspended for wrestling under the influence.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
What's the story about that?
He was drunk.
But I mean...
what story do you need for Mr. Niebla? He shows up drunk half the time.
But I'm assuming to the effect where it...
It was bad.
Up.
It was bad. Yeah, he messed up. He messed up.
It was a lot of people wrestling.
There was a match. I can't remember what match it was, but... people who saw the match can tell you that he was clearly drunk.
Even somebody who knew nothing about wrestling could say
there was something wrong. Máscara Dorada.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Pulvera. Mephisto. Okumura, of course. Mm-hmm. Angel de Oro. Stuka Jr. Rey Cometa. Triton. Triton. And Stigma. Stigma is a Puebla guy who's related... I think he's related to Panico.
Okay, which is why
and
he's getting the tour.
Black Cat, the relation to Black Cat. They're booking him as related to Black Cat.
Gotcha.
So a tribute. But then everybody starts complaining about how why isn't Rey Hechicero and Titan going, Dragon Lee, Cachorro, all these other guys, why aren't they going?
I know they got
when they deserve. But then I thought, well, maybe we'll get in my head I'm thinking, wow, Mr. Niebla's gone. Good. Gran Guerrero's gone good. Yeah. Ultimo Guerrero's gone good. Maybe that means Negro Casas and Titan.
Right.
All these Hechicero. You get something different. But it being CMLL, they're going to fuck it up.
They're going to fuck it up. And even if they were thinking sensibly, you would think, okay, do we send our finest to go out of town and then we just have the skeleton?
Yeah. So you
got to keep some.
Yeah, but. Yeah, and then
I remember that short time I booked for Michinoku. I remember Wally Yamaguchi saying, "Okay, each time you pick some guys to bring here, don't pick 3 great guys. Pick maybe 2 really good guys and a couple of guys who are just okay." Says
so it doesn't ruin the local indies or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and also he's saying, how's he put it? He says, there's only so many people who will probably blow us away, and don't try to send them all at once. Yeah. So on the next tour, you can send us 2 different guys who are really, really polished, and a few guys who get the job done.
Well, what I think is going on is with Gran Guerrero, obviously the relationship with Ultimo Guerrero, but then he also wears the same mask. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a little bit of that going on where they're like, hey, we have to sell this mask, so he's still going to wear it. Right. Ultimo Guerrero's still probably going to wear it. He'll take it off. Oh, and Ultimo Guerrero explained. Remember I don't know if you ever asked about the head bandage he has.
He did, yeah.
He's told the story of why he wears it still. Mm-hmm. He mentioned that the week before the anniversary, he had actually wrestled Atlantis and he got a cut on his forehead, and he kept wearing the head bandage. He had to wear it, so he wore it after the anniversary and everything. He still had it on. So when somebody made an action figure of him, a figurine or whatever it is, they included the bandage. Oh, cool. And so he bought the figure,
right?
And he thought he gave it to his mom, and he thought he looked kind of cool. So he said nobody else wears that, so I'll just keep wearing it, which is kind of funny. Well, and then you think, oh, that's you're thinking that's silly, but then you're thinking, what about Harlem Heat? Remember they used to wear those nose strips?
Oh, totally.
Whoever thought that was interesting? You always have guys who wear Band-Aids on their faces, the rappers and stuff.
You got a little something that'll have people talking and have a lot of people wondering why.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting when he was explaining it, but it's just funny how they have they have all these. I'm surprised Stigma is going. Of all the guys, that's probably the one that I'm most surprised is going. Just because I don't even think like the CMLL people actually even know.
He's not somebody.
I mean, they know him. They know him because he's related, but like the fans probably don't know him that well. Like
I don't think they do. No.
So that same press conference, there was a big announcement. Blue Panther's sons are changing their names. Mm-hmm. Cachorro will now be known as the Panther.
Okay.
And Black Panther. I don't think. Have you seen Black Panther? I think you might have seen them in that. You saw the En Busca, that Torneo Cibernetico, where it was all the 16 guys to determine.
The fireworks.
Yeah, where they had
that match.
Where they had the 8 guys who were going and the other 8 weren't. Remember that? Because I remember you were telling me about that.
Oh, it's so funny. I'll never forget that match because most people would describe it as a spot fest, but to me it was like a fireworks show. I mean, people were just flying all over the place, and it's something that. When you think of logically, so many people involved in one match, all those spots should have been. There should have been so many fuck ups. There should have been so many mistakes, but it was beautiful. It was really cool.
Yeah. So Black Panther will now go as Blue Panther Jr.
Cool.
And it was funny because Blue Panther was saying that he was going to go as Divino Lagunero. Mm-hmm. That was actually the trio name, Los Divinos Laguneros. Mm-hmm. But he kind of implied that he was going as that name. So I'm guessing what it's going to be is like when they introduce him, they're just going to introduce him as El Divino Lagunero Blue Panther.
Right.
Just to differentiate him from Blue Panther Jr. Mm-hmm. But Cachorro's mask looked pretty cool. It was like a silver gold type of the cat part.
Oh, cool.
And then white. The rest of it was like a white beige looking color.
So it kind of has a Blue Pantherish.
Yeah, but it's like it's a little different. I don't know, but I'm not sold on the Panther name because there's been other people who have used the Panther name. Mm-hmm. There's even like I think I'm right on this. I think Rob would know better. There was a guy in AAA who wrestled as the Panther briefly, years ago.
The Panther name has been used oodles of times.
Yeah, but I think that's the one I remember. That's the one I remember most recently. Mm-hmm. So that's. I mean, I'm guessing Black Panther's going to get more bookings, being Blue Panther Jr.
I would think so, and especially since it's pretty. It's not like a Huracan Ramirez thing where there's 100 of them.
Yeah. He got very emotional, and when he got the mask, he's like, he said, cool. So, and his dad hugged him and everything. Cachorro wasn't as emotional, but he's also like a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, I dig that tradition though. I dig how they get so into it. I love it.
Yeah. What else was going on in CMLL? Apollo Dantes is no longer in charge of Arena Coliseo
in Guadalajara.
Nope, no longer.
Do you think anything will change?
He was running good shows lately.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. Nah. I think they kind of killed that territory. Like
it's been just dead for a while.
Yeah, it's even when they run good shows, it's kind of not as packed. But I think it's also just because it's hard to get people now to go to. I think now you kind of instead in the past you used to think sellouts. Now you're thinking like, hey, maybe we could get 5,000 or 6,000 people to these shows. that's and if you don't get that, it's like, or like for Arena Mexico, like whatever feels like, or 60% capacity.
Now, is it strictly that they've just gone too long having sucking booking, or are there other reasons, or is it?
Well, they had a lot. They had a run.
Just shoot themselves in both feet.
Guadalajara had a period was really bad, but lately it's been really good. Like he's been getting like some of the main event guys showing up more often.
Any word who's going to be filling his shoes?
Kurt Brown. No, just kidding. I don't know.
Kurt Brown.
The other Kurt Brown. Jerry Brown. There's a Jerry Brown.
Rockin' Jerry Brown.
There's a Jerry Brown in Mexico.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Shall I chastise him for stealing my gimmick that Al Timko gave?
Yeah, you were going to be Jerry Brown Jr., right? Were you Jerry Brown?
I was rocking Jerry Brown. And I remember Ed Moretti even saying, why not just call him Kurt Brown? I like Jerry Brown. Is it rocking Jerry Brown?
Nobody knows who Kurt Brown is. Yeah. But it's like you could have been part of the Brown family. You could have started like instead of the Grahams, could have been the Browns.
That's right.
Jerry Brown.
I could have called myself Governor Brown.
Then you could have brought in Brickhouse Brown.
Brickhouse Brown.
You and Brickhouse. Yes, totally, your brother from the South.
Yes.
That would have been great.
And not from another mother. We both had the same mom.
Have you been watching any CMLL lately?
I haven't watched no CMLL, believe it or not.
A couple of things that I think you should watch. Dragon Lee 2 versus Kamatachi. I think I was going to bring that up last week.
Wait, was that the
lightning match? I think you saw that. Where they nearly killed each other.
Oh my god, I love the moves Dragon Lee does, but I get so scared he's gonna crash and burn.
I love how when he gets drop kicked by Kamatachi from the when he runs off the ramp into a drop kick, he takes the bump and instead of just like falling back, he just does a little extra roll, like a head bump, like he just lands on his head. But some of the stuff they do, like that the Phoenix driver, whatever the hell it's called. I mean, that thing looks dangerous.
I know.
The Phoenix, the Plex.
I'm a huge fan of his, but I hope he knows what he's doing. I get really freaked out.
I don't mind because I don't know him.
I don't know either, but I just still, I mean...
It's cool watching like somebody just go out. You know what it is? It's like watching Rush, like in a small form and being able to do all these moves, whereas Rush wasn't doing all these like crazy things.
Yeah.
Although Rush was the other match, Ultimo Guerrero versus Rush from the Dia de los Muertos show. Mm-hmm. I actually thought that might have been better than Atlantis versus Ultimo Guerrero.
Really? Okay,
I liked it. It was really good. The end of it, they were supposed to they had, the theme was the CMLL versus Inframundo. Mm-hmm. And they were supposed to have, the losers were supposed to go to hell.
I love that.
So they don't show, so all of a sudden, all you see is, when Rush loses, him and the Ingobernables are leaving, and you see, these four muscular, skeleton-looking dudes chasing him, but you don't see them taking him to hell, or they don't show that, and it's man, talk about bad editing.
Talk about a stipulation not delivered.
That's where CML pisses me off. They don't air that stuff.
No, you should go all the way with that.
Yeah.
And from heaven to hell and back, we'll be back in just one moment.
You'll have a real blast when your eyeballs pop at the wild, blasting music that has the whole country hopping. And the wild blast-off girls who have the musicians popping the strings on their guitars. Blast-off girls. This picture is so hot it literally vibrates on the screen. Jumping young teeny boppers get with it to the savage beat of the big blast. Blast-off girls. Nobody will fall asleep watching this picture. Here's Bougie Baker, king of the rocks groups. Bougie never blows his cool, no matter how hot the music blasts. Meet the Blast-Off Girls, a red-hot mob of rambunctious tiger kittens on the prowl. They're the fire that blows up your blood to the boiling point. It's a gas, a jam-up, the blast of the year, a riot of color, excitement, and fun. It's what's happening, baby, and it's happening right here. If you've been wondering what it's all about, here's your chance to get with it and ride it to the top. See it here. Blast Off Girls. You'll have a blast.
We're back.
We are back, Fredo. Frito. How can I forget Frito?
I have more matches for you, Kurt.
Yes.
You interrupted me.
I rudely interrupted you because there's some important communication that needed to be delivered.
Kurt thinks it's easy to add these commercials to these shows. I think he's kind of going to...
Well, it is because I'm not the one doing it. I'm not the one adding them. That's the beauty of it.
Titan versus Pólvora was good from this past Sunday. You know how I say Sunday shows suck? This past Sunday show... what was this past Sunday? What was the date? I can't remember the date. Yeah, this past Sunday. Yeah, this past Sunday. I wonder if I have a... Well, this past Sunday, Titan versus Pólvora, they had this really cool spot at the very end where Titan is doing this dive, where he does a dive to the outside, and Pólvora moves out of the way. And Titan just hits the guardrail.
Holy jeez.
But he doesn't get pinned. He kicks out. He still keeps kicking out. And finally ends up getting the win at the end. Which I thought was pretty cool. Considering how CML always makes our guys lose. I like how our guys lose. It was the 16th. Yeah, it was the 16th. The CML Sunday show from the 16th was the show you should watch.
Was the one I should watch.
Yes. Okay. Not all of it. Just that match. And then... you gotta watch Metallica's entrance as Pepe el Toro.
Really?
He comes out singing lip syncing, and he dances around and does all this stuff. But the funniest thing is the match starts. He's still wearing pants, and as the match starts, the pants fall off. It cracked me up. It sounded like this comedy thing. Lucha Blog just kept. Cubs fan just kept posting all these gifs of all this stuff.
Caught in my choners.
Yeah, it was hilarious. So that's another thing you gotta watch.
Okay, I'll watch that.
So that's all for CMLL.
I'm getting homework, folks.
Yeah, CMLL.
I'm gonna report back.
So we should actually talk about something that you're a part of.
Okay.
That we're all very upset at you for not really making more of an effort.
Okay, where have I fallen short?
You are part of the Hall of Fame voting panel for the Wrestling Observer. And this past week, Dave Meltzer announced the what was it, the
two inductees, yeah,
to the Wrestling Observer Hall. I know, the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. One of them was voted in, which was the Rock and Roll Express. And the other one was Ray
Fabiani, was it?
Ray Fabiani, who was inducted.
Who I have heard of.
Never heard of.
But ever since, I heard the name.
Here's what I want to know. Did Missy Hyatt, did you at any point see Missy Hyatt right? Never heard of him. How did he get in? For those who haven't, Kurt, you could explain the story.
The story is, Ray Fabiani is one of those additions who is like somebody who is very powerful in the business and is a shoo-in, but a lot of even historians are unaware of him.
Yeah.
I've heard his name, but as it turns out, this guy was a powerful force in the wrestling industry. So, Dave has a category of overlooked performers, and he has a small panel of folks who give it a thumbs up.
Are you in that panel?
I am not in that panel.
Oh, wow.
And
you got to be pretty smart to get into that.
Yeah, and I'm not pretty smart. Me working on it, though. I work hard.
Uh-huh.
I work hard. So, Fabiano is one of those overlooked figures.
Fabiani.
Yeah.
I was gonna tweet. I was gonna be like a total dick and write Ray Fabiani. Only one I know is Lou Fabiano. You remember the
yes,
the USWA wrestler?
I do remember him. I remember him well, actually. Or King Fabiano.
King Fabiano, we know.
He's overlooked.
Yeah, yes. He's overlooked.
He's a great guy. There's a Hall of Fame for just good folks.
Yeah.
He belongs. So anyway, back to the story. In 2008, after lobbying for over 3 years, Steve Sims and I finally convinced Dave Meltzer that Martin Cardigan is somebody who would not get voted into the Hall of Fame, but if you had more people in South America voting, he would be a shoo-in. I mean, this guy reinvented professional wrestling in Argentina.
Yeah.
And he brought it from something that was kind of a dying industry and turned it into something new. He was Vince McMahon before Vince McMahon.
Uh-huh.
I won't go as far to say he was as clever a businessman or as powerful a force as McMahon, but South America never had a promoter like him. And it was ludicrous if you're going to have a legit Hall of Fame for him not to be in there. There's even a few wrestlers that I'm not going to push that hard on them, but there's a few wrestlers who should be in there too from Argentina. So Steve Sims and I finally...
All this hard work you guys did.
Yeah, and he finally got in. And what's even better is Steve Sims and I tag-teamed and wrote a bio on Cardigan. What we did is I wrote a bio, then I emailed it to him, then he threw stuff into the bio and kind of wrote a bio of him, sent it back to me, and I put more stuff in, and we tried to figure which stuff was legit, what to leave out.
Uh-huh.
Long story short, I think we came up with a really, really good bio on Cardigan, and Meltzer said he's in, and I was on cloud 9. I was really happy, and it was especially a fun time to work on it because that was when I had lymphoma, and concentrating on something like that really got my mind off having all these chemicals put in me. But
so then the one comment you get about it is from
one of the first comments I got. I gotta say,
it was on your website, right, back then? Because I remember reading it.
Yes, yes, it was.
How did she find your website, though? That's actually...
I don't know, actually.
Yeah, that's
a good question.
Yeah. I think you wrote something about him, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
And then Dave linked to it. And then Dave linked to it. Yeah, I think that's...
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it was so cool, because one, I was getting a lot of emails from people, and what was even cooler is Meltzer wrote in the newsletter, Kurt Brown, who put a lot of work into this, is going through some serious health issues. I got a lot of snail mail from people because he put my street address in there too.
Damn.
And
did you give your home phone number? Because it is Dave. I mean, Dave would do that. You're thinking, God, don't, Dave.
What hours I'm home?
Call him anytime. He never sleeps.
A tracer of what my key looks like. So But anyway, no, I got about a dozen letters, even from some folks like in Australia. I got 2 letters from Australia. People saying we really dug this, never knew about this guy. This is Missy Hire's response was I don't get it. He sounded really cool, and it was an interesting story. But I never heard of him, and I don't think anybody else have. And how did he get into the Hall of Fame? I don't think he could have gotten enough votes. And so I wrote back to her, and I explained the whole overlooked section.
I still don't get it.
And she wrote, but I don't see how he could have gotten voted into the Hall of Fame. So many people don't know him. It's almost like my explanation.
I know. It's like and you always find this stuff. Like you always find somebody who just because they don't know who that person is, they think, he doesn't belong in something. But then you're like, other people know who this person is.
Oh, exactly.
Like with music. I don't know who the fuck certain musicians are. Like I'll watch a country. Like if I see somebody tell me that's a country singer, and I was like, oh, cool. Is he famous or something? And they'll say, yeah, he's pretty famous.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, I don't know him. Doesn't mean he doesn't exist.
I'm not in the country.
That doesn't mean he's awful. It just means I don't like his music,
Exactly. I don't think country sucks. It doesn't do anything for me. And so I hear people at work bringing up country singers.
Different stuff.
I heard the name, but I have no idea what they wrote.
There's always like Grumpy Cat.
Yes.
Grumpy Cat. I've never heard of that till the day they mentioned that he was going to be on Raw. So I looked it up, and I was like, okay. And then they said that he had a lot of followers on whatever social media he was on. And it's like, but that doesn't mean that just because I don't think it's interesting or cool doesn't mean other people are not going to know who it is. It just means I don't know who it is. It's not in my world. So I'm not thinking about that stuff. And that's when you talk about wrestling, I mean, I can't really get upset like when somebody doesn't vote in like a luchador that I like, because a lot of those people probably don't even know who that person was. So it's I can't really get that upset. So then,
the only time I got a little livid was when Dr. Wagner fell short 2 years ago, but he got in.
Yeah,
that was the only time when I thought, okay, that's the archetype of an overlooked wrestler.
And this is the thing. Like we'll talk about Rock and Roll Express in a bit, but about the lucha guys, it's like people think that because you're Mexican or you're a reporter in Mexico. Because I think this happened with Ernesto Campo.
Right.
I think a lot of people the Super Luchas guy. He's not really somebody who grew up watching wrestling in the 50s, 40s, 50s. He's not that old. He grew up I think he started watching wrestling in the 80s or 90s maybe. He's not going to have an attachment or know a lot about... He might have read about this person, but he doesn't have the actual knowledge of that person at that time. Because I know he didn't vote for Dr. Wagner because he thought he was too much like Averno. And I thought... At that Averno level, and I thought that's not even. He's allowed. It's either you're overthinking Averno. You're either thinking Averno is that much better, or you're putting down Dr. Wagner's level.
Exactly.
And we're talking about Dr. Wagner Sr. We're not talking about Dr. Wagner.
Yeah,
Jr.
We're talking about the granddaddy of them all. Yeah. You're talking about a guy who had one of the most serious trios in Mexican history, and he and Angel Blanco Sr., I mean, they were a big part of Solitario getting over.
Yeah.
I think Solitario would have been a big star anyway, but they were a vehicle for getting
You need that,
over.
yeah. And I think that's where people always get like this whole like Cien Caras. A lot of people who don't vote for Cien Caras, it's because they didn't see him like before he got old and bad.
Yes.
Like a lot of us are like, oh, he drew a lot and all that stuff, but the person doesn't have that attachment to it. Like they don't know who.
No, it's so
they
true.
just you could write a bio on him, but odds are people aren't really going to think about it.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, and I can't remember specifically, but Carlo Flagardi got a lot more votes than I thought he would.
Yeah,
which. I know it's something he won't reveal, and so. But I'd love to know who the historians are, because there's sometimes I'm saying, how can Villano 3 not get more votes than he did? And at the same time, I'm impressed that Carlo Flagardi got so many votes, because
what's weird is like with like sports when they do Hall of Fames, you have like a little bit of a record. You have the record. You have their stats.
Yes.
You go with. You could go with whatever they did as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
But then like with wrestling, there really isn't that thing. Like, wins and losses don't mean anything. Championships are starting to mean way less.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't really have that, it's more of what that person thinks of that person, you know, like, of that wrestler.
Right.
So it's like, if you don't like if you watched Ultimo Guerrero, and you don't know the last 4 or 5 years, like, you would consider him a Hall of Famer, but then you don't know, like, the last 4 or 5 years he's basically been in charge of, he's basically been a big part of CMLL's booking team and all that stuff.
Exactly.
You don't really know the why is he, like, headlining all these shows. It's because he gets to do it because he's the boss, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, if I
although I do think he deserves to be in there.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Well, it's like, say if I started watching New Japan for the next few months, I'd probably have this idea of who's the coolest and who's not, but I haven't watched in so long. There's probably backstories that I don't understand.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I'd feel like I feel like I would be almost ineligible to vote on somebody like that just because I don't know their history.
Well,
I don't know.
There's WWE guys and US wrestlers that you're probably not going to be able to vote on because you're not going to know the whole backstory to them.
Yes.
Like when Daniel Bryan is in it, I mean, he's basically going to go in based as a worker, isn't he? Because he hasn't done shit in WWE, really.
Right.
I mean,
he will be a worker, yeah.
Because I don't think, I'm not impressed with what he's done in WWE. He hasn't done anything. I mean, I like him, but they never did anything with him. Every time he got pushed, he got buried again, and then he got hurt.
That's no fault of his.
Yeah, and then he got hurt.
But yeah.
There really isn't like this whole, he drew this huge gate. There isn't a lot of history behind it.
Well, and that's one of the other things is, somebody who I think should be on the ballot, and again, you're the one who turned me on to him, was Sangre Chicana.
And I don't think it's pointless now to him and El Danny, because it's not going to happen.
I mean, what I would love is I don't know how many historians are on the panel, but I would love more emphasis on historians and historical figures. Because there's guys who know their history out there. Matt Farmer, I mean, that guy wrote a really good history on the month of September in Mexico.
He's still not done yet.
Yeah, and Greg Oliver, even though he doesn't do lucha, I mean, there's an amazing... no doubt he's on the panel. But there's a lot of people who I think know Mexican wrestling who should be, I don't know.
There should be the other thing is if you put in all these guys all at once, it kind of looks silly too.
Oh, yeah,
so it's
well, that's what makes a Hall of Fame special is sometimes only one person
sometimes no one gets in.
Yeah,
and that's the way it should be. But right now there's a lot of guys who probably should be in that aren't going to get in. And then I know a lot of people complain about certain guys, like Dick Murdoch and all those guys, but then I'm not sure if they belong in the, I think Dick Murdoch was great.
I liked him a lot, yeah.
But I don't know if he's a Hall of Fame guy.
I don't know. Was he a draw? I honestly don't know.
Yeah, so it's one of those things.
It's similar
He'd be in my book, he would be a Hall of Famer just because I really enjoyed his work.
Well, it's funny. I was a huge Adrian Adonis fan. I when he was on his game before he
got heavy and stuff.
Got heavy and was really into coke and everything. I mean, when he fell hard. But as much as I liked him, even at his best, no way would I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he was really good, but I mean, he wasn't a huge money draw.
Yeah.
And, I hate using the word demons, but his demons kept his career from continuing on. It kind of floundered before it should.
Was Barry Windham ever I think he was a nominee, right? At some point?
I hate to say it, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and he's...
Although I don't think I'm not saying he should be one of the guys who should go in, but I'm saying was he ever? Because he was a guy who was great at one point. He was
awesome.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he just dropped off the map.
I think he's another one. If you're going to say anything negative about him, it's not his work in the ring, but
never was a draw. Right?
Yeah, and I think if I remember right, I think he shot himself in the foot by ditching promotions and stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's part of what can keep you out of a Hall of Fame. Are
you upset that Robert Gibson got into the Hall of Fame?
What?
I was laughing because I was listening. I guess Dave must have gotten. I don't know if Dave. I can't remember if Dave said that people told him that they didn't understand why Robert Gibson would get into the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. But then he's like, it's the team. They go together. I think he was talking about... I think he made reference to it because he was saying that about the Andersons. Mm-hmm. How the Andersons haven't gotten in, but some people have suggested only going in, being considered on his own.
Yeah.
As a candidate. on his own. And then he's like, but then you have Buddy Robertson with the Freebirds, and then you have Stan Lane with the Midnight Express.
Yes.
And then you have Robert Gibson with Ricky Morton.
And you have Buddy Roberts with the Hollywood Blondes.
He's not in the Hall of Fame with the Hollywood Blondes.
I don't think so, no. But you know what I'm saying.
No, but I'm saying, but when he said that was the other thing. When he said about Buddy Roberts, at first I thought, does he mean Buddy Roberts sucks? But then I thought, and he's in because the other two guys were so much better. But, and that's one of the things that people always overlook with the Freebirds. They always overlook Buddy Roberts.
Oh, man.
Always gets overlooked.
Yeah.
But the guy was a great worker when he was younger. Mm-hmm. And then when he joined the Freebirds, he was older. But the guy played the stooge part so well.
So beautifully.
Stooge parts in trios are always underrated.
And he still had his working shoes on, even though he's old.
And I know that because I always diminished Tarzan Boy when he was with Guerreros del Infierno. Because the other two guys were great workers, and that's all you're looking at.
Yes.
But you always have to have that third guy has to be like a stooge, like the asshole, like the one that incites the crowd. Yes. And that's what's so great about Ingo Bernables. Rush is the guy that incites the crowd, you know. So when he said that, I thought that's kind of weird. But then like the Rock and Roll Express, I mean, yeah, Robert Gibson got ugly and wasn't quite the worker as Ricky Morton, but they were great.
They were great. And they were over too.
Yeah, they were over.
Mean,
they're still over. Like even like as old guys, they were still over in the South. I mean,
yeah. It's so funny because I had a friend at work when I was talking about the Rock and Roll Express, I can't remember where he heard about it, but he says, were they like trying to copy the Rockers? Because he doesn't.
Yeah.
History. But I said, no, these guys were before the Rockers, and if you knew regional wrestling, you'd get a better appreciation of them. Yeah, if you see Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty at their peak, and then see the Rock and Roll Express, you'll probably want. And,
you'd be like,
you don't know wrestling.
You'd be like, oh, the Rock and Roll Express suck.
Yeah.
If you're watching, because really, Shawn Michaels or Marty Jannetty are easier to watch.
Yes.
If you're a younger fan, because you're used to the high spots and all this stuff. Whereas the Rock and Roll Express was more about selling
and old school
wrestling, where it was like more of a build up to the conclusion, stuff like that.
Yes, and they weren't bad looking guys, but it's not like the 80s where you're kind of selling sex to ladies.
And then they still looked like, it was funny because we were talking, I think we probably talked about them like every third or fourth podcast.
So often,
yes, we talk about the Rock and Roll Express.
They should be in the Hall of Fame
just for us springing the how.
Exactly.
Because I remember when you first saw them, they looked cool. Like, and I remember because I saw videos of them when they were younger. Because I think you probably saw them before I did. When did you first see them?
Okay, I first
early
saw them
80s?
Early 80s. Oh, okay, here's the thing that does stick out. And this was because I kept a separation of what's cool in California, what's cool in...
So they didn't look as cool by then.
No, well, here's the thing. This was around the time when NWA talked about coming to California.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember when it was.
87.
I think it was a little
86?
earlier than that. Yeah.
85?
Yeah, but I remember since I would get videos from people like Norm Dooley and stuff like that, I would see Rock and Roll Express, and I thought, that is like rock and roll in the South. That does look cool. And they came to that song, Rama, Lama, Lama, Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
And I remember talking with Dave Meltzer, I don't know if he'll confess this, but he says, wow, when Rock and Roll Express comes to LA area, I bet that's going to be over. And I'm saying, Dave, no, they're going to be laughed at. They're going to be ridiculed. They may look rock and roll in the South, pre-MTV era. I mean, MTV was around, but they do not look rock and roll in LA. This was heavy metal.
You know what? It was weird because in the 80s, since we lived in El Paso, and this is true because we would come over on vacation to LA, so we were a little more, we knew more of the current style. So El Paso, even going to El Paso, was always like a couple of months behind on like movies and stuff like that. But then like when you would watch, remember those, remember they used to show like those, when they would have like the Four Tops or something and they would be playing like, or even like the 60s rock and roll bands.
Yes.
Not Led Zeppelin, but those old rock and roll, like the Righteous Brothers or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I always thought Rock and Roll Express reminded me more of.
Yeah.
Like that type of music.
Totally.
Like Elvis or like stuff like that. Like the old-timey bands. Like, oh, here comes the old-timey band coming. And this was 1986, 87.
Oh, yeah.
By that point, I mean, I was already like, that's why Road Warriors were so cool, because they looked like they were like the current.
Oh, exactly.
They were like the heavy metal. They were heavy metal, not like
futuristic.
Yes, they were rock and old timey. The rock and roll my mom and dad liked to listen to. It was totally. Road Warriors like heavy metal. Like I was already like by that point. I think I only lasted like a year being into like the babyface stuff. Mm-hmm. I'd already become like a diehard like you have
heel
to look
fan.
Heel fan.
Hard. Yeah.
But even like Jerry Estrada, who was doing the rock and roll look at that time, he pulled off the glam rock look better than the Rock and Roll Express.
Totally.
He was doing glam rock. Him and Fiera were doing glam rock.
Here's another example, and I also remember, and when I say this, Dave Meltzer was somebody who was in Northern California. There was some hip stuff there, but L.A. was like the play. L.A. and New York were where the cutting edge stuff happened.
Yeah.
New York was where the club scene and the Warhol and the...
And that's probably why Rock and Roll Express never had a big run in New York.
Right. And
because they probably saw them and they're like, what the fuck?
In California, we had all the cutting edge, the punk and stuff like that.
The Ramones were already like pretty well known by that point. I mean, that's what was considered cool, leather jackets and stuff like that.
Yes. But, and I remember, again, I was talking to Meltzer, and that was when in Memphis they'd show those music videos of Stan Lane and
Steve Kern,
where they're shirtless in these tight blue jeans, and
you're like, whoa!
I know. Come to Hollywood, shirt plum. No, but I remember talking to Dave, and I can't remember if there's talk of them coming out there, the Fabulous Ones, and I said, well, they better not show those videos in L.A., and Dave said, are you kidding? Don't you think the women would love them? I said,
yeah, but...
The women would love them, but it's more the West Hollywood scene, and he didn't get what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But seriously, a lot of people back in the South, they didn't think of that as like this gay look.
Yeah.
Where in Hollywood, that... when you go into West Hollywood, you see guys, in very short shorts and no shirt on. If they had,
I remember watching that video in Texas and thinking how gay, I was like, that's pretty gay.
But I got to say, Meltzer wasn't the only person. When I talked to some people that I corresponded with in Tennessee, I'm saying, so do the boys in Tennessee love the Fabulous Ones in their tight blue jeans? And people go, what? I don't get. I mean, they did that. Just didn't look gay to them.
In Texas, it was cool, like the Bruiser Brody look was like, that was what we were all into, like the badass looking.
And the tight blue jeans, I guess, was still something women dug as opposed to, the gays.
Yeah, but I mean, Rock and Roll Express was great, but I mean,
they were awesome.
Yeah, they did really deserve it.
But I mean, it was another era. Yeah, they deserve it. But it was another era where if you grew up watching rockers, it wouldn't make sense.
And then you had like the rockers, the Southern rockers, all these other groups coming out. And I was like, it's like, I think by the early 90s, I remember when people were like, why don't the Rock and Roll Express change their look? I still remember that Nitro they appeared. Remember they appeared and wrestled the Horsemen, Flair and Anderson.
I don't remember that.
Really good match.
Oh wow!
But it was like old looking, like because they were old. I mean, but I think the nostalgia of them being in, because it was a southern city.
So they were in the right.
So they were in the right environment. Yeah. But I mean, but you thought I just kept thinking, how many people are changing the channel because they don't appreciate how good the match is.
Exactly.
And they just look at Rock and Roll Express. I mean, this would have to be like in 96, 97. And they're just thinking, man, these guys are old looking.
Oh, well, that's like one of the WCW shows in L.A. Baba made an appearance. And
they were like, what the fuck is this guy?
And that's the thing. Some older fans were really upset because people were laughing at him.
Yeah.
But you can't get on these people because they didn't know his history.
Yeah.
They just see this guy who's pretty old and pretty skinny.
First time I saw Baba, I was like, man, are you serious?
Yeah,
I was like, this guy's a wrestler? Because he's like, he was tall, but physically, I don't think I've ever seen a guy who didn't look like a wrestler more than him.
Oh, I know.
Physically,
I'll never forget, I never saw this, but when Pirata Morgan toured Japan, they said it was the only time in years that Baba had done a body slam. And the
guy sold for him.
Yeah, they said it was almost like Pirata Morgan body slammed himself. But
he probably did.
The crowd popped like crazy, and they said Baba had this big smile on his face, like I body slammed somebody.
Great booker though. So
great booker, and the other thing is he was so smart that he knew he was getting old.
Yeah, one of the few guys who got it. Like
he knew he was to be booked low on the show.
Yeah,
the
comedy
he
match.
was the comedy, and he had no problem with that.
And I thought that was great. I always dug that he never was. And whereas over here you'd be watching WCW or like what was it? Whatever other promotion you'd be watching, like the guy who's the booker is like in the main event.
Exactly.
Kevin Nash, the world champion. It's like,
and they should not be
there. And Kevin Nash should have been in the mid card match.
He should have been in the mid card.
Comedy match.
He would have been so likable in the mid card. Matches.
Well, he still should have been a main event guy. I mean, guys that big should be like, especially a guy who has that, because he had a look.
He had a cool look.
Look. So what else? I don't know. I think that we covered it. We should mention that Jeff Van Gundy on this past on a recent TV show he was he was calling the Cavaliers Spurs basketball game. I say basketball because Kurt doesn't watch basketball, so
exactly.
For all he knows,
that's the thing where they throw the ball.
Yeah, for all he knows, Cavaliers Spurs could have been a baseball game.
That's right. That's not the thing where they run the ball past the line, but they put it in a net.
Hulk Hogan made an appearance at the Cavs Spurs game. So then Jeff Van Gundy started talking about how he grew up watching wrestling, and he was a big fan of Great Mephisto, Kinji Shibuya, and Pepper Martin.
So he grew up in Northern California.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty cool. Him and his brother.
Awesome.
His brother's another. I think it's only him and his. I think they might have another brother, but it's him and his other brother Stan Van Gundy, who looks like Ron Jeremy.
Oh no way!
They are the motliest looking dudes.
Like funny.
Jeff Van Gundy looks like somebody said he looks like a little baby bird. Do you know Jeff Van Gundy?
No, I do not.
This guy's a great.
But I'm having a picture of Ron Jeremy next to
a little
small
baby
version of Big Bird.
Jeff Van Gundy, great coach, coached the Knicks, coached the Houston Rockets, great announcer, even better announcer actually. But he's best known, probably the best notoriety he has. There was a brawl between the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks, like back in the late 90s or mid 90s, and he decides he's got to get in between and stop. All these guys who are 6'8" and taller from fighting. So all you see during this big this little brawl that's going on, is little Jeff Van Gundy, who's probably 5'6", holding on to what Alonzo Mourning's leg.
What a ballsy dude!
So you just see this little guy holding on to.
Oh man,
it is awesome. So you gotta look it up. Look up Jeff Van Gundy.
I want to see.
So then he also mentioned that his favorite tag team was Man Mountain Mike versus Haystacks Calhoun, which Kurt later tells me that tag team never actually existed.
That is the best I know. It never existed. But what happened?
They might have teamed maybe at one point,
possibly somewhere. But what I remember about the two of them was Man Mountain Mike was a regular here in Los Angeles from late 1973 to early 75. And for most of that time, he was a babyface. And, he did the Haystack Calhoun thing, the overall 600 pounds. But I said this so many times, and I'll repeat it 100 times. The dude wasn't just another big guy doing the chubby gimmick. The dude was a great worker as far as interviews, babyface. When he turned heel, he was a great heel.
Wow.
And I remember one particular match when he's still a babyface and he's wrestling Ernie Ladd on TV, and Ladd gets blood. Ladd does something to draw blood, and Man Mountain Mike's face is covered in blood. And when
as the train passes,
but Man Mountain Mike in his overalls, he's
the one doing the choo-choo.
The vagabond. But when he makes his comeback, he had this look of rage on his face, and the cameraman, whoever it was, got a close-up on it, and his eyes were bulging, and Ladd, who was the consummate pro, was just backing off like, oh my god, I pissed this guy off too, man.
Yeah.
But when he turned heel, Haystack Calhoun came into the territory just as he did for a week or two, and I always wonder how this drew, because all I remember was the TV hype where it says Man Mountain Mike versus a guy who used to be his good friend Haystack Calhoun, two men who are 600 pounds in the ring. We are having special reinforcements in the ring. We're gonna have to, this is gonna be 1,200 pounds in the ring at one time. We're going to have to put extra reinforcements, make sure this ring does not collapse. And I'm not sure, but have you seen that, any of the videos that people took of Super 8 movies at the Olympic Auditorium in the 70s?
I've seen it, but not.
Yeah, they float around on YouTube.
Yeah. I probably have.
I think they have the two of them.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's just little snippets because That's when you.
I want to watch a 30-minute match between them.
An Iron Man match,
and put it on the El Rey Network.
But I'm so glad somebody remembered.
Yeah. I just thought it was cool.
I love it.
I was laughing because I saw the Observer. Somebody sent Dave the info, but it was all wrong. I was like, but I you know what? It might have been wrong, but I think he kept talking about it like through the game.
Yeah,
and I wasn't really watching the game.
Well, probably he was a casual fan.
Yeah, so he kept bringing up because they kept laughing at somebody mentioned that they want to see him do a podcast. Just talking about wrestling because he's very energetic, very excited.
That is cool.
Excited. He's a very easygoing guy.
Maybe there's a guy who should do play-by-play for their
Lucha Underground. Yeah,
totally.
You don't even like. I think what it is. I think as wrestling, I think we kind of fall trap where we want guys who know all the moves and stuff like that, or know all this information. But maybe you just want somebody who just like enjoys wrestling.
I want enthusiasm.
Yeah, so like
more than anything.
So I think we want Jeff Van Gundy to announce.
I agree.
Lucha Underground's new host.
It's petition time.
Jeff Van Gundy, and just throw in whoever you want.
Yes.
And just have him like, as the match is going on, I really used to enjoy Man Mountain Mike and Haystacks.
I love it.
And then he always has time to tell during games, he like, as soon as something happens, he's like, you know what I hate? That's his whole thing. Like, he hates everything that goes on. Like if there's a foul, he hates that. He hates everything. He's like, you know what I hate? When they give you the 24-second rule. It's like, dude, it sounds like one of those old-timey guys. Sometimes he sounds like an old-timey guy.
Dana Carvey doing the grumpy old man gimmick on Saturday Night
Live. I think that's the only thing I can critique Lucha Underground on is that I don't like the announcing.
Yeah, I wish that was stronger.
But it's not bad enough for me to like. It doesn't wreck
the show for me.
Yeah, it doesn't wreck the show.
I think it's still a great show.
Yeah,
and has it been on long enough where we can vote for it as best TV show in the Observer Awards?
I think people are going to vote for it anyway.
I hope so because I am. I think it's bitching.
I don't even know if I'm so angry at the Observer. I'm not going to vote.
I'm still shocked. Remember when I heard there was going to be this Lucha Underground show? I was just rolling my eyes saying, well, let's see what kind of a train wreck they do. Because every time you hear about a new
I'm going to tell Conan you said that.
Groundbreaking promotion, every time you hear that, it's almost always a disaster. And like everybody and their brother has said correctly, they try to imitate WWE, and they do it terribly. And here's something that's an animal all its own.
Yeah.
So,
and you're not going to get anything like that on WWE. You're not going to get Phoenix versus Pentagon, that type of match in WWE. You're just going to, like, you might get, like, something kind of cool, but it's never going to be, like, that as good as that stuff.
There's something for everybody. There's a great spot fest if you want to see a spot fest. There's great melodrama to it.
Yeah. And then there's Big Rick.
Yeah.
Just kidding. He's all right. I kind of like him, but I just don't like it. I just don't like...
like you said, I don't think he should be in long matches.
It's 1 hour long. I mean... I can't really complain about stuff. If it was like TNA, like 2 hour long TNA, I probably would be complaining.
I think that's one of the keys. Wrestling shows, even good ones, just go too long, and anything can get boring.
They haven't killed my interest in it yet.
Think about it. How many 3 hour movies would you sit through? A movie just once, it has to be a pretty.
I can't remember the last
movie.
I think one of the superhero movies I saw recently was 3 hours long. I can't remember. It felt like 3 hours. Oh, Transformers was almost like, it was like 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Wow, that's long for...
I can't remember. It was like 2 hours, 20 minutes. Oh, God, that thing was... Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Transformers 3. There's this guy who's a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think he's funny as a comedian, but he was on the show, on that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as he starts talking, you want him to die. Fortunately, they kill him off. But he was awful. Guardians of the Galaxy is pretty good.
I loved Guardians
I actually dug that. I watched it this past week.
I love Groot.
Yeah, Groot. Totally I am Groot.
Groot, yeah.
I it's funny because I always get accused of being like not get accused, but get told I'm a comic guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really... I know like your basic stuff. But if it's some movie that's going to come out, I do want to know a little bit about like the characters, just because it's something that I'm interested in. So I started reading about the Guardians of the Galaxy thing, and I really dug the Groot thing. Like that apparently I am Groot means something more to the. It's not just him saying I am Groot.
Mm-hmm.
It means something. Like it's actually him saying words.
Right.
And the only person that understands it is the raccoon.
Yes, yes.
I dug that. I actually liked that.
I dug that too. That was a fun flick.
Yeah. Batista was on it. That's why.
That was cool too. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
What do you give Batista? 3 stars in the...
I give him a thumbs up. I'm going to go the old Siskel and Ebert route.
I give him a thumbs up too.
Yeah, all right. So that's Fredo in the Freak giving 2 thumbs up to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, that is our movie review of the week.
That's right. 2 thumbs up to Lucha Underground.
Half a thumb up to...
what CMLL is doing.
CMLL's actually been fun.
Yeah, there's some good stuff. 2 thumbs up to Rush, who could probably outshine anybody even if he has a broken leg. Well, not everybody, but most people. And
he's got to do promos and stuff.
That would be so cool if they did the Brian Pillman thing with him. That would be so cool.
They should add like a little segment on CML show where they ask fans ask a question.
Yes,
and like have it be every single day, every week. People asking Rush a question and just have him like be frustrated.
And I'm getting more agitated.
Yeah, like stop asking me. My favorite thing
and then finally have him read a letter that transfixes him. And he reads it and is just mesmerized, but he folds it up and won't say.
My favorite thing is they used to do this workout segment with a video for Dark Angel, and usually the wrestlers they'll ask him, "Can we show you Can we show the workout segment?" And like, sure, go ahead. She's great or whatever. They ask Rush, and Rush is like, yeah, whatever. Like, he didn't even give a crap. So I'm like, man, Rush doesn't even like Dark Angel, man.
Oh my god. This is so cool. Okay, well, till next time, folks.
Next time we might actually have an interview with Negro Casas.
We're hoping. We're crossing our fingers. On November 30th, is it?
November 30th.
Negro Casas is coming to town.
To Los Angeles, UIPWLA.
Yes, and...
it's a pretty good show. Superboy's kids are going to be wrestling.
Yes, as a tag team. Superboy Jr. and Indu Jr.
Yeah,
they will be as a tag team.
Or Indu Jr. is actually the nephew, supposedly.
That's right. Yeah, the nephew of Principe Indu.
Yeah. Yeah. But in storyline is the nephew of Superboy.
Yes, exactly.
despite the fact that the mom always defends him at the show.
Oh, she should do a run-in.
Yeah.
But these guys are great. We've seen them as a tag team,
and I think some of
a good tag team. They have great chemistry.
I think some of the Lucha Underground local guys are also going to be on the show.
Very cool.
I think Little Cholo might be on it. Or,
awesome.
Mariachi Loco, I think, is going to be on it too.
So, folks,
I'll tell Mariachi Loco that. The fans thought
obviously I don't have all the info in front of me, but folks, if you just go on Facebook and look up UIPW, you'll find information.
Yeah, then the following week, Volador Jr. is coming back again.
Oh, very cool.
But he's been here like a few times.
Yeah, but Negro Casas we have not seen for a while.
Yeah, we don't have any interest in Volador Jr. No, just kidding. No, we like him. He's all right.
We do. He's cool. But Casas
is cool. Yeah, Casas is up there with Pimpinella and all that.
Exactly. He's every bit.
He's on the wish list. He's on the wish list. People we want to. People we don't mind like talking to and taking pictures.
Okay, that's a feature we got to have every week. Our wish list.
Yes.
So until next time, folks, have a totally bitchin' week, and we will have another show really in the near future.